All right, welcome to Pro Football's first 50 years, where we take the past and we bring it back to life. Now you can go online. I'm strictly talking the first 50 years, sir, from 1920 to 1970, especially if you're going back to 1920 and the 30s and all. And you go online, obviously, and you find out who won the football game, what the score was, what the box score was, who scored a touchdown, how far the field goal was that they kicked, what the attendance was, where the stadium, that they played at. They can even find the starting lineups for each team. But exactly what happened during the game? Well, thanks to old newspaper articles, we get to take a little bit of a deeper dive into each and every game during the first 50 years of professional football. And just like a little news flash here for you. Ain't no fancy videos here. Right? All there is you and me for the next 30 to 60 minutes. So if that's all right with you, let's get it on. And today's game, the first time, October 25th, 1959, the first time Vince Lombardi takes the Green Bay Packers, during the regular season anyway, on the road. And, they get whooped up on by the defending and the soon-to-be crowned back-to-back champion Baltimore Colts. Yes, they were the Baltimore Colts back in the day at Memorial Stadium, one of my all-time favorite stadiums. As you can tell, I'm an old-time fart. I love that old-time stuff. Grass, dirt, mud outside, all the old stadium. Absolutely love it. Memorial Stadium was right up there, let me tell you what. Absolutely fantastic. The Packers were at the time 3-1, and they were going on they're very streaky. They would win their final 2 preseason games, then they would win their first 3 regular season games and win 5 games in a row. Although 2 of them were in the exhibition. Then they would lose 5 games in a row. And they would go from, basically, they started the season 3-0, and they were the only team in the NFL in 1959 to start off 3-0. Everybody else had a loss by the 3rd week. Then we go from 3-0 to 3-5. Now, of course, in 1959, they only played 12 games. So, you're 3-5. They only got 4 games left. But they won those final 4 games. So, they would finish the season at 7-5. Now, one of the interesting things was, Bart Starr was not the starting quarterback in the beginning of 1959 season. Lamar McCann. Oh, yeah, that future Hall of Famer himself, Lamar McCann, baby. He would start the first 7 games of the 1959 season for the Green Bay Packers. Bart Starr would finish the final 5 games of the season. And when Bart Starr, the first one that Bart Starr played, they would lose, but they would win the final 4 games. And after that, as they say, the rest is history. But the Baltimore Colts have a pretty good quarterback of their own, some guy by the name of Johnny Unitas, Mr. High Tops himself. Now, to me, I know, but nobody gives a rat's rear end. But to me, obviously, the top, to me, 2, 3 of all time quarterbacks. Boom, period, bar none, end of story, without question. And in this particular game, he had a very good game. Let's go over. Let's show you here. Let's show you the, each team's. All right, we'll start off with the Colts here. All right. Now, what happened, obviously, with the Colts was, when you're the champions, the following year, you'd play the College All-Stars. Then they played and they whooped up on them pretty good. Then these are the exhibition games, right? They played then the Giants and the Redskins, the Steelers, Eagles, and the Cardinals. Then they started off, they were, and as we see here, I got to move my legs. My dog's in front of me. Sorry, buddy. As we see here, after they lost these back-to-back games, they had 3 losses. They had to win these final 5 games of the season to win the division. Now, interestingly enough, the Packers, and this would be the first time during the season the Colts and the Packers would play one another. And as we say, spoiler alert, the Colts would win this game 38-21. Well, a couple weeks later, they would go back to Milwaukee and County Stadium, and the Colts would win 28-24. Now, it didn't happen. Ain't never going to happen. But if you go back in time. If somehow, now this would be the first time that Bart Starr played, because he would lose this game, and then he would win the final 4 games of the season. But had somehow Bart Starr and the Packers actually won this game here, I don't know what the heck they would have done. I don't even know. No idea. The Colts would have finished 8-4. The Bears would have finished 8-4, and the Packers would have finished. It would have had 3 teams finishing 8-4. I don't know what the heck they would have done. Absolutely no idea. It's crazy, but it didn't work out that way. But I'll tell you what, the Western Division was very good. Colts finished 9-3. The Bears were 8-4. The Packers were 7-5, and the San Francisco 49ers were 7-5. So they had 4 very good teams. The Lions were not, this particular year, were not very good, and the Rams, they were the worst team. They only had 2 wins. So let's go over but you see, they had to win the final 5 just to make it to the championship. And as you say, they would win the championship game. Let's go over the Packers here, as we see. Right, very, very streaky here. They won their final 2 preseason games. Then they wouldn't win their first 3 games, and they went first place. And as I said, they were the only team after 3 weeks. They were 3-0. Everybody's doing dancing the Macarena in Green Bay. Vince Lombardi with 3-0. Packers are back, which they soon would be, but not this particular year. Then they would go on. They would get beaten 5 games in a row. Then Bart Starr would come in here and play against the Colts, lose a close one at home, but then they would go on and they would win the final 4 games of the season to salvage a 7-5 record. So, but as you can see, they somehow at home they were 3-0, and at home they lost 45-6, basically to the worst team in the league, because the Rams only won 2 games in 1959. Then they lost here to the Colts. Then they would lose to the Giants. I think this is the only time from 54 to 58 he was the offensive coordinator or offensive coach with the Giants. So I believe this was the only time that the Giants ever actually beat him during his coaching career. Let's see. Then they would lose to the Bears, and they would lose another one to the Colts. They lost. Two of their losses were to the defending, to the eventual champion. One of the losses was on the road to the other team that went to the championship game, and then the other one was to the Bears at Wrigley Field. So, 4 out of the 5 losses were to really good teams. And then as I said, they would finally finish off by winning the final 4 games and salvaging a 7-5 record. But this game here would be played at Memorial Stadium. So let's take a little bit of a trip down memory lane here, shall we? Let's do a little good old Wikipedia. And one of my all-time favorite stadiums, good old Memorial Stadium here. Now I have 37,000 tabs open up here, so here it is. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, of course, this is, when I first started watching football and baseball, this is where the Colts and the Orioles played. So Baltimore Memorial Stadium was a multi-purpose stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Formerly stood at 33rd Street on an oversized block officially called Venable Park, a former city park from the 1920s. 2 stadiums were located here, a 1922 version known primarily as Baltimore Stadium or Municipal Stadium, and a rebuilt double-deck multi-sport stadium completed in mid-1954 and rechristened Baltimore Memorial Stadium, or Memorial Stadium for short. Construction of the football stadium. Memorial Stadium was launched as Municipal Stadium, also sometimes known as Baltimore Stadium or Venable Stadium. It was built in 1922 over a 6-month period at the urging of the mayor in a previously undeveloped area just north beyond the city's iconic row of row houses. The stadium was constructed in what was formerly Venable Park and was operated by the city's Board of Park Commissioners. It was primarily a football stadium, a large horseshoe with an earthen mound exterior and its open end with a large stone gateway. In this configuration, it seated anywhere from 70 to 80,000 people. Wow. In its early years, it hosted various public and private high school and college level games. Home games for the University of Maryland, Terrapin football, and the United States Naval Academy midshipmen were sometimes held at the stadium. Baseball park. In July 1944, Municipal Stadium was pressed into service as a baseball park by the Baltimore Orioles of the International League. Further momentum for sports in Baltimore was spurred when the failing Miami Seahawks franchise of the fledgling All-American Football Conference was relaunched in the fall of 1947 as the Baltimore Colts. The presence of professional football and the prospect of professional baseball spurred the city to rebuild Municipal Stadium into a facility of major league caliber. This reconstructed stadium was to be renamed Baltimore Memorial Stadium in honor of the thousands of the city's dead of the recently concluded World War II. Baltimore Mayor championed the new stadium project and overcame various legal and political hurdles which delayed progress on the project. The initial plan called for a single horseshoe-shaped deck to be built with the open end facing north. It was designed to host football as well as baseball. It was engineered with enough strength to eventually support a second deck and a roof. The first Baltimore Colts franchise terminated operations for financial reasons at the end of the 1950 season. Community support for a second NFL franchise remained strong. However, in late 1952, a group of Baltimore businessmen pulled their resources in a bid to win a new league franchise. A Bring Back the Colts drive launched in December 1952 generated the pre-sale of 15,000 season tickets in just 6 weeks. The campaign made an impression, and Baltimore, then the sixth largest city in the United States, was awarded an expansion team for the 1953 season. With the NFL back and realistic rumors simultaneously circulating of the arrival of Major League Baseball, the second deck constructed was begun during the summer of 53. First two groups of sections were built facing the 50-yard line. We'll get some pictures of this. Baltimore became the new Major League version of the Baltimore Orioles. The St. Louis Browns in the American League were announced to be moving to Baltimore. And the Baltimore Orioles began to play there in 1954, the city's first major league franchise in over 50 years. In April 15th, 1954, thousands of Baltimoreans jammed city streets as the new Orioles paraded down Baltimore City Hall to Memorial Field. Abandonment. Dun, 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 dun. The dual-use stadium was not without its critics. However, the traffic and parking shortage made accessing the stadium difficult. Concrete poles blocked views, and unsheltered areas grew hot in the summer. Most of the seats were bench-style, with few having chair backs, let alone more modern amenities. So this is where they wound up moving it all and everything. In the middle of a snowy night, March 29, 1984, under threat of a measure introduced into the state legislature to initiate condemnation proceedings for the city and state assert eminent domain and take ownership of the Colts franchise. Moving vans rolled in and the Colts rolled out for their new Indiana home. Such a shame. Such a shame. I mean, to me, once again, I'm an old fart, as you can tell. They'll always be the Baltimore Colts to me. Indianapolis, that to me, once again, I apologize. I'm an old fart. They'll always be the Baltimore Colts to me. Like Indianapolis. And the Dome, once again, and the Dome Stadium. Okay. Absolutely freaking can't stand it. So let's look at some pictures here. All right, let's see here. They had some very iconic games here. Of course, we all know the dreaded Ghost to the Post, one of the greatest playoff games of all time, 1977. I mean, really, really exciting. Just, I mean, wow, I don't even know what the heck that is, but yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, this is the way it was. I mean, it's what do you mean, like grass? I don't know what the heck you want to call it. You know what I mean? Just the Ghost to the Post. All right. Another one they had, let's see if I got here, the 1959 championship game, which obviously, that was one of the big things. Obviously, to win the Western Division, you would host the championship game in 1959. So that was a big help as well too. But as we see here, right? I mean, this is just before the championship game, right? You got the Colts and the Giants, and they had the band out there on the field. When they actually had a band, before games and even during halftime. What a concept, huh? Not anymore. Let's see. Great picture, great score. I mean, to me, this is the great scoreboard there and all that, right? Absolutely love it. See if they have any more. Don't even know what the heck this stuff is. What the? No. Don't even know what that is there. Nope, that ain't it. All right. Let's see here. Got some more pictures here. Oh, here you go. This is one here too. 1959 championship game. Well, I can tell you this pass was incomplete, I do believe, because Kyle Rote didn't catch a touchdown pass. So, but you can see, just people in the background there. Great photo. Great photo. Love it. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful photo. Oh, I stopped sharing my screen. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm an idiot. All right, let me let's see, share screen. I got let's see what else we got here. Oh, here we go. The first AFC championship game was held there, and basically, as you can see right here, I mean, I click on it, is it going to pop up? Oh, you can see right here, right? I mean, this is Johnny United. I mean, of course, back then, by this time that the baseball season was over with, and you get into December and all of that, the grass is all chewed up and everything. Basically, it's all just like dirt. It looks like it reminds me a lot of like Shea Stadium and stuff like that. Just dirt. You know what I mean? There's Johnny Unitas, right? Here he is. Here he is again in the championship game here, the 1970. The Colts would wind up winning 27-17. Go. Here's George Blanda. He came in. Here he is again. All right. Here's some more dirt being kicked up. I mean, the guy's just running. You just see the dirt just being kicked up. Just here's another shot here. I mean, you can see there's like no grass over here. Same thing here, right? Yeah, like what else we got here? 59 championship game. Oh, okay. Then all right, let's see here. And I got a couple pictures here of actually the stadium. This might, no, is this it? Nope. How about this one here? Nope. Hold on, I'll find it. Here we go. All right. Okay. So you got over here, right? See, it was at the bowl shape right up here, and they had the open end right down here. Here's I always remember this. This is always either, when I see this, I always either think of the Colts or the Baltimore Orioles. What we got here? Here's another Memorial Stadium history photos of the former ballpark. Where are we at here? Here we go. This is where it's the demolition and afterlife of the Baltimore Memorial Stadium. So is it just, I don't know how just after we got, see, here's the growing, starting to grow weeds in there. Right, is afterwards, right? It's all abandoned. Nothing's being kept up and everything. It's a shame, absolute shame. But yeah, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, they fall apart, and they have to start thinking demolition and afterlife of Baltimore. You know what I mean? So yes, a lot of people are just sitting on concrete, so. All right, so it gets to the point where it's like, with the amenities, obviously the bathrooms and the parking and all of that, it's like, well, is it worthwhile? Can we do anything to it? Because some of the places, they're just in such a small area, you can't expand them, you can't add parking to it or anything like that. So sometimes it's almost like, well, you know what? Let's just build another place where it's be so much, where maybe you can get more seats, better parking, and all of that, and and unfortunately do away with these old stadiums like this. But for a period of time, this right here, this to a lot of people in Baltimore, and a lot of us football fans, this was a little slice of heaven. Really, really was. I mean, you knew when you played there. But, quite. I mean, there were times, especially when I was in the '70s and all, where the Colts were not very good. But when they got Burt Jones and they started making some comeback. But in the late '50s and throughout the '60s, they were really, really good. And I said, Royal Memorial Stadium was part of that. I said, that always, brings back fond memories to me. So let's continue on with the game. We'll start off. I got 3 papers here. Let's see, because sometimes I start reading, and between the pictures that they got, the articles and all, I can go on for 40 to 50 minutes just reading. So let's see how many papers we can get through here. I got 3 of them. So I think the last one I did, I think I only got through 2 papers. But let's start off with the Green Bay Press-Gazette. And they do a very fine job of covering the Green Bay Packers. So we'll start off with the October 26, 1959 edition of the Green Bay Press-Gazette. And it says, Colts whip Packers with big third period, 38-21. Pictures here. Long and short touchdowns. The Packers' Luke Carpenter, 33, is showing his heels to a flock of Colts after turning the corner on his 55-yard touchdown run on the first play of the second quarter. Packers' Jerry Kramer is in the foreground, and Forrest Gregg. Jerry Kramer, I guess this is Forrest Gregg laying down here. And you got Donovan, 75. That might be Forrest Gregg right there. So you got a Hall of Famer here. You got a Hall of Famer here. You got a Hall of Famer here. Doesn't happen very often. 3 Hall of Famers in one picture. 3 Hall of Famers in one picture, and they all played basically their entire career with one team, unlike today, where guys just jump around from one team to the next and everything. I mean, it's the way it is. I mean, back then, there was no free agency, so guys, it really was rather difficult to be jumping from one team to the next. Chances are, if you were jumping from one team to the next, chances are you kind of stunk. You kind of got you on one team and they let you go, and then you're on another team they let you get. And this one here in the right panel, the former Wisconsin horse, former Heisman Trophy winner, All-American Alan Amici, steps over and out of John Simak's grasp for a 3-yard touchdown plunge that gave the Colts a 14-7 lead in the second quarter. Bob Freeman is being blocked out of the play. Number 65 is Tom Bettis. Colts won 38-21, 3 touchdowns in the third period. So here's the Alan Horse Amici. Now, interesting, his career would come to an end the following season. They played the Lions the first game in December, he would injure, I think it was his right Achilles here. I guess he would tear it really bad and he would never play ever again. So he had a very productive career, but it was cut short to an Achilles injury. Unitas villain with best game. Bays hit long ball. McCann hurls an 81-yard TD strike to McGee. Carpenter dashes for 55 yards. John Unitas played the best game in my career in Memorial Stadium Sunday. That's what the famous Colt quarterback told a former teammate. Packer Fuzzy Thurston night, it was called, after the Colts defeated the Packers 38-21 before a sellout crowd of 57,557. And that just about sums up the Packers' tremendous effort to belt the world champions and thus remain in first place in the Western Division. Instead, the Colts are resting at the top with the 49ers. Each team is 4-1. The Packers, suffering their second straight loss after 3 consecutive triumphs, now face the Eastern Division leaders, the Giants, on Sunday. The Colts host Cleveland, and the 49ers tackle the Lions. Unitas was fabulous. He threw 3 touchdown passes and completed 19 of 29 throws, 10, of course, Raymond Berry, the studious left end. It was unfortunate that Packers caught Unitas and the rest of the Colts when they were as hot and high. The Packers, too, were geared for big things, maybe an upset, and they had good reason to hope until the Colts bolted across 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes and 29 seconds late in the third period. 2 of those 3 TDs, breaking a 14-14 tie, were set up on interceptions and the other on a long punt return that was giving the Colts 14 points the easy way. Packers came up with the big bomb, and 2 early explosions electrified the crowd and the Colts. Lou Carpenter sprinted 55 yards in a 7-0 lead in the second quarter. Then after the Colts went at 14-7 in the second quarter, Lamar McCann and Max McGee worked on an 81-yard aerial TD to tie the score at the start of the third period. Then in quick order, Unitas hurled a 3-yard TD pass to Alan Amici after a 30-yard punt return set up the drive from the Bay 36. Bill Pellington intercepted a McCann pass and returned it 30 yards for a touchdown. And Unitas hurled a 2-yard pass to Berry for a touchdown after Ray Brown returned an interception 47 yards to the Packers' 18. That made it 35-14. Steve Myra booted a 43-yard field goal in the fourth period. And with 25 seconds left in the game, McCann hurled a 4-yard touchdown pass to Boyd Dowler, ending an 80-yard march. Coach Vince Lombardi came out with 2 innovations: the double wing of offense and switching of the cornerbackers. The DW resulted in some confusion in the Colt pass coverage, and McCann responded with his top pitching day. 14 completions and 27 throws for 233 yards, with Gary Kneffelk getting 5 receptions for 69 yards and McGee getting 3 for 110. But he did throw 4 interceptions. On defense, Jesse Whittington, normally a right cornerbacker, or as we say nowadays, a cornerback, went to the left wing to cover the swift Lenny Moore, who wound up with no touchdowns and 4 catches for 41 yards. Bob Freeman went to the right side and ran into Berry's magic. Bobby Dillon, who was to add his speed to Freeman's coverage, was hurt tackling Berry early in the game and never returned. The Packers put good pressure on Unitas at times, but he usually snaked out of trouble. One time he threw sidearm while falling to the ground and completed it for 19 yards to Berry. Another time he had a completion while almost on his back. Unitas didn't start out like he finished. The first pass he tried, he bumbled when hit by Bill Forrester. Nate Borden recovered. On his next one, when rushed by Dave Hanner, Unitas was low on a hurried pitch upfield. He tried 4 more in the first quarter and completed 2, but went to work and completed only 6 passes the rest of the game. Wow. The Packer offense stymied some by the Colts' giant defensive line, which they were. Art Donovan, Gino Marchetti, big dudes. Big Daddy Lipscomb, big dude. never launched a sustained march until the 9-play, 80-yard march near the end. Carpenter's TD run was on first down on the first play of the second quarter. The long touchdown pass to McGee was on a 3rd and 2 situation at the start of the second half. Ironically, the Packers with 2 home runs won the yardage statistics, edging the Colts in passing 205 to 191 and in rushing 139 to 118. The Colts made 25 first downs against the Packers, only 15. The Colts intercepted 4 McCann's passes, which was huge, and returned them 84 yards. The Packers failed to intercept the pass for the second straight game. The Packers committed 5 fumbles and lost 2 of them. The Colts lost both of their 2 fumbles. So the Packers threw 4 interceptions and actually fumbled the ball 5 times. So they had 6 turnovers in the game. The first quarter was dog-eat-dog. Both quarterbacks lost their own fumbles. The Colts made 5 first downs, the Packers 4. McGee punted once, Dave Scherer twice. Amici made 13 yards on the first play of the game to the Colt 35. Amici needed a yard for first down 2 plays later, and Bill Quinlan nailed him for a pass. On the Packers' first play, McCann hurled a strike. Hurled a strike to Gary Knaffelk for 25 yards to the Packers' 45. A personal foul on the next 3rd down gave the Pack position on the Colt 36, but McCann fumbled on what could have been ruled an incompleted pass, and Art Donovan recovered. The Colts then ran 6 straight times for 29 yards before Unitas fumbled. After an exchange of punts, McCann pitched up the middle to McGee for 24 yards to the 45 on the last play of the first quarter. To start the second period, Carpenter zoomed around his left end, picked up some blocks by Jerry Kramer and Forrest Gregg, and just stepped away from the bunched Colts for a 55-yard TD run. Paul Hornung kicked the extra point for a 7-0 Packer lead. Colts with Unitas hitting moved 80 yards for the tying touchdown. Jim Mutscheller caught 2 for 25, Berry 1 for 12. On the play, Dillon was hurt, and Moore 1 for 11 to the Packer 13. Packers got tough, and the situation got up to 4th and 5 on the 8th. Gambling some, Unitas got all day to throw and finally caught Berry between the goalposts for the TD. Wow, 4th and 5. Wow, they went for it. Jeez. Myra kicked the first of 5 extra points. The Colts slammed right back after another McGee punt, moving 79 yards in 9 plays. Moore lost a yard to start it, but Unitas hurled to Berry for 19. Alex Hawkins ran for 11, and then Unitas pitched to Amici for 10 and Berry for 23 yards down to the 3, from where Amici plunged in, where you saw that picture, one picture of him running it in. Just before the half, Dick Szymanski intercepted McCann's pass, and Myra got off a quick field goal from the 43, but it was wide. John Simak fumbled the second half kickoff behind the goal line, and Ray Nitschke recovered on the 5 and returned to the 11. On the first 2 plays, all right, let's see. On the first 2 plays, let's see. Carpenter gained 8 yards. Then McCann fired a deep bomb that McGee took on the Colt 40. The taxi outdrove Brown into the end zone. Hornung made it 14 up. Packers quickly forced a punt, and it looked as if the tide was turning for Green Bay, but the Bays couldn't move. Hornung's 3rd down pass going wide to Knaffelk. Johnny Sample took McGee's punt on the Colts 39 and raced down to the Packer 36. 7 plays later, it was 21-14, with the Unitas throwing a 3-yarder to Amici in the end zone for a touchdown. Then came the 2 interceptions. Pellington came out of nowhere to steal McCann's pass and aimed at Knaffelk, who was open. The Colt linebacker raced into the end zone untouched. On the next series, McCann threw long to Hornung on a 3rd and 3 spot, but Brown intercepted on the Colt 30 and returned it 52 yards to the Packer 18. 2 third down passes made it 35-14. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, there. Unitas throwing to Berry for 11, and then to the same receiver for 2 and a touchdown. Sample lugged McGee's punt to start the fourth quarter 75 yards for a TD, but Pricer was fingered for clipping A.D. Williams, and the score was nullified. The Colts had to punt 2, and the Packers put together 3 first downs, the 2 big plays being McCann passes to Knafolk for 16 and Carpenter for 19 to the Colt 28. A roughing penalty on the Packers and recovery of McCann's fumble when he was snowed under a horde of Colts, and Myra field goal from the 43 followed. McCann then tried 8 passes and completed 7 of them in the 80-yard touchdown march. Knafolk caught 2 for 21, Horning nailed 2 for 16, and Dowler 2 for 25, including a 4-yard touchdown catch. The Packers got one last chance when Simak recovered Horning's onside kickoff. With a few seconds left, McCann's long pass to Dowler in the end zone was once again intercepted. Hard to believe. Oh, there we go. Right here, right? Gary Knafolk is near end of the line after grabbing Lamar McCann's pass for a 25-yard gain in the first quarter. Gary Knafolk, he caught quite a few passes, let me tell you, this season. He's somebody, a lot of times you think of Max McGee and Boyd Dowler. Well, Gary Knafolk wasn't too bad. It was not too bad at all. Let's see here. I think that was it. Is that it? All right, maybe that was. All right, that was that. Okay, we got shoe on the other foot. Unitas kicks Bettis. But Tom holds off. Packers different. Eubank discovers. Oh, and here we go. Here. Right. First downs passing. Colts got 17 first downs passing the ball. I mean, just Unitas would just drop back and just boom. Just boom. Just pick you apart. Unbelievable. I mean, of course, he has Hall of Famers running around out there catching the passes and everything, but you got a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing it to Lenny Moore, Hall of Famer, Raymond Barry, Hall of Famer, you know what I mean? So they were tough. They were tough. They had gained 309 yards, but as you see, the Packers actually outgained them 344 to 309. But they intercepted 4 passes. One of them was brought back for a touchdown. The other one was brought back, I think, like to the 18 or something like that. And a few plays later, they scored a touchdown off of that. So, you can score, get all the yards you want, but if you keep throwing interceptions, or like down here, too, the Packers fumbled the ball 5 times and lost 2 of them, so they had grand total 6 turnovers. Tough to win, with 6 turnovers. See, Lenny Moore gained 42 yards in 8 attempts. Hawkins, 41 and 10. Alan Amici, they clamped down on him pretty good. He gained 35 yards on 15 attempts. The Packers' Carpenter, actually, he had that one long run, but he had 88 yards and 9. McElhaney ran the ball 5 times, 29 yards. Paul Horning, 8 for 22. Jim Taylor was still injured. I think it'd be his last game. He wasn't. Well, he was injured. He after the second game of the season, so he missed the last 3 games, including this one, and he would be back the following week for the Packers. He on a Sunday morning, he was cooking breakfast, and he somehow burned his one hand with bacon grease. As he was cooking bacon, somehow, I don't know, his hand got, somehow really badly burnt with bacon grease. And then I guess maybe it spilled onto and he burned his one hand and his foot on his other foot, on his other leg. So maybe it was his left hand and his right foot, or his right hand and his left foot, whatever it was, but burned him pretty badly where he was out for 3 weeks. Now, I just read Yeah, he didn't miss any time. So if Jim Taylor was out, I mean, they got to be burned pretty freaking bad. I mean, obviously, if it's on your 1 foot, right, I guess you can't run. So, but he would be back. So this is why, like, you don't see. And Horning was banged up the week before. Horning's been, it seems like Paul Horning was always banged up. But this is why you don't see Jim Taylor in there running the ball at all. But you see here, Raymond Berry only caught 10 passes. That's all. 10 passes. 417 yards. Gary Knafel caught 5. McGee caught 3. Boyd Dowler caught 2. You know. So, but this was kind of interesting. Sideliners. Remember how they howled when Johnny Unitas was injured in a collision with John Simak here a year ago? Colts fans hadn't forgotten. They booed Simak when he replaced the injured Bobby Dillon in the second quarter of the Packer-Colt game in Memorial Stadium Sunday. The horseshoe was on the other foot yesterday. Tom Bettis slammed through the line in the third quarter and tackled Unitas with gusto just as he let loose with the ball. They fell down in a heap. He kicked me in the head after we went down, Bettis said after the game. I could have really let him have it, but it would have been 15. He was wide open. Bettis was mad. He pointed his finger at Unitas when they got up, and the crowd let out a noisy boo. Coach Weeb Eubank stated the obvious after the game. You have a much different football team, referring to the 56-0 Packer loss that apparently they had the year before, 1958. We played it straight and didn't try to work on any one part of your defense. We feel Berry and Moore do well at left and right, and if they're not working, we have Mutscheller up the middle, he said. I was surprised not to see Dillon back there after he was hurt. I had him in the pro ball game, and he got hit like that, but he was right back in. That hurt you, Webank explained, adding with a smile. Pellington's interception set us off. While Weeb was talking, the Colts great end, Raymond Berry, ambled into the room and spoke cautiously. Coach, I haven't been doing some things, right? And I wonder if I can take a Browns film home with me tonight. The Colts play Cleveland next Sunday. A couple of us scribes shook our heads. Berry had just caught 10 passes, but that's why he's a great end. He works at it. Only caught 10 passes. In the Packer dressing room, moving on up. Coach Vince Lombardi was lavish in his praise of Unitas. He's the greatest I ever saw, he told the visiting press, adding he does everything well and he had himself a great day today. Vince let it be known that he was highly impressed with the performance of Lamar McCann. 4 interceptions. The Packers quarterback, who was submitted to strong pressure at times, he's going to be a great one for us someday. No, not necessarily. He's starting to take charge despite the fact that he's not entirely familiar with his team yet, Vince said. That single wing worked pretty good, the coach laughed, and they had some trouble back there figuring it out. The different offense was used as a surprise measure and brought forth 233 air yards, including an 81-yard pass from McCann to McGee. In another move, Lombardi switched the positions of linebackers Jesse Whittington and Bob Freeman, thus putting Whittington's speed on the swift Lenny Moore. This eliminated the long bomb. Unitas compensated by going short most of the way, completing 19 out of 29. So I guess they had maybe somebody covering more close, and maybe somebody all over the top of him because he was fast. He got behind you, forget about it. McCann said he never saw Bill Pellington on the interception that was turned into a touchdown. Linebacker Pellington was running parallel to the line of scrimmage and ran right into the side of the ball, which was aimed at Gary Knafel. The Packers were back in Green Bay at 8:15 Sunday night due to the magic of air travel. Packers were disappointed with the loss to the Colts, but far from discouraged. We can get right back in there by beating the Giants Sunday, said Dave Henner. Nate Borden, out for 2 games with a knee injury, saw his first action and went until he virtually collapsed from exhaustion. Jim Temp finished out. John Dittrich played some at offense right guard when Jerry Kramer was hurt. Was that it? I guess that was it there. All right, that's that. Okay, so, all right, that is the Green Bay Press Gazette. Now we're going to go to the Baltimore Sun. All right, where are we at here? Baltimore Sun. Once again, please forgive me. I got 37,000 tabs up over here. Okay, the October 26th edition, 1959, of the Baltimore Sun. Colts with Packers. Before 57,557. Wow. That stadium, 38-21. Go. Follow the horse. Alex Hawkins, Colts halfback, follows Alan Amici for a 5-yard gain against Green Bay at the stadium. Packers are Bill Quinlan, number 83, right here. And Dan Curry, number 58, right here. While Colt guard Art Spinney is far right. Dun, 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 dun. Here's the horse, Alan Amici. Hawkins right there. Let me find this one here. Where are we here? Oh, here we go. My bad. I was going to the wrong side of the paper. I do apologize. Lombardi's visitors coach calls United's best quarterback I've ever seen, says Champs. Running was better in 58. Vince Lombardi went beyond mere praise in describing quarterback Johnny Unitas yesterday. He said what Baltimore football fans have believed all along. The Green Bay coach, general manager, is a relative newcomer to the pro ranks with less than 6 years' experience, but he's seen the best players modern football has produced. Best I've ever seen. Unitas is the best quarterback I've ever seen, he murmured as he slumped into a chair. Now, I wonder what he would say after he had Bart Starr all those years, after he finally stepped down as the coach after the 67 season. If he had Starr and he had Unitas, wonder who would he'd say would be the best between the two. What did you say, Coach? A newsman asked. The best that takes in guys like Graham and Ball and Luckman? That's a lot of territory. I meant it. What more can I say? He's the best I've ever seen, Lombardi repeated. He picks you apart. Yes, he does. I mean, because you got to figure the year before that, Lombardi was on the Giants in the 58 championship game when Unitas was in there, right, at Yankee Stadium, and he was just picking the Giants apart. I mean, once again, Berry had a huge game in that game, too. With the Unitas, your receivers don't have to beat the defense by much because he lays it right in there. He's just a hell of a player. But there's no need for me to tell you how good he is. You saw it today. The Colts have a fine team. I think their running was a little better last year, but their defense is as good as ever. But that Unitas, he was too much for us, although I thought our boys played a good ball game. We dropped 3 passes in key situations that I thought could have made a difference. Then our defense collapsed when your line started breaking in on us. Lombardi, a wide-shouldered, dark-haired man, never stopped smiling. It wasn't that he was happy. He's just a gentleman. We're not out of it yet. Our quarterback, Lamar McCann, is going to be great, too, in another year. He doesn't have Unitas' great knowledge of the game, but he's going to get better. Talent and smart. Imagine having that talent and being as smart as he is, Lombardi said of Unitas, shaking his head. McCann getting dressed in front of his locker showed none of the effects of the rough game he'd just been through. Heavily muscled, McCann has almost boyish face topped by short, sandy hair. That Colt line was tough on us, McCann admitted, although I thought our line did a good job. It was a neat bit of sidestepping. I don't think the Rams are as tough defensively as the Colts, he said, but they can unload on. All right, let's see. Unload. Yeah, I think I got to go like another page. It's like, is this it? Hold on. Continue from page 1. Unload on that. That the Colts didn't score early in the last period. See, I don't even know if I'm reading the right article here. Oh, we got. Let's go back here. Got some pictures here. Here's John Unitas throwing a touchdown pass to Raymond Berry. Here's Alan Amici right here. Close the gap. Johnny Unitas far right pass to Raymond Berry. Johnny Unitas takes off and runs the ball to the Packer 2-yard line. Alan Amici runs over Green Bay tackles to gain 5 yards and a first down in the Colts' second TD drive. And we got this one down here. That man Berry again. Ray Berry snags a pass on the 3-yard line. And we got this one here. This is Packers score first. Luke Gardner scores first touchdown of the game after breaking through right side of the Colts defense. And this is Big Daddy Lipscomb right here. Art Donovan's a big dude too, but Big Daddy was, he was a big man. Let me tell you what, you don't want him tackling you. Let me tell you what. Okay, so I do apologize. I got to figure out, trying to figure. I don't think the Rams are as a tough defensively as the Colts, page 22, column 1. But they can unload on page 22. So what page is this here? I do apologize. Page 15. So I got to go to page 22, column 1. Okay, here we go. Column 1. There we go. They can unload on you too. The Packers lost to the Rams last week, 45-6. Lombardi and McCann were both pretty much in agreement on the Colts-Rams comparison. Said Lombardi, the Colts have the better defense by far, and they don't have a Unitas, Berry, or Moore, but they keep throwing good backs at you. Arnett goes for 20 yards, and then they send in Wilson, and he goes for 20 more. And that way he can really throw the ball. I couldn't pick a winner, though. I've got enough trouble of my own. When we're still a green ball club with a lot to learn and a long way to go, but we're going to be all right. The Colt coaching staff wasn't exactly overjoyed when they heard about Lombardi's praise of Unitas. John, who received a slight gash on his head from his helmet, just shook his head and smiled. Then he said, that and a dime will get you a cup of coffee. In other words, you still have to throw those passes and score the touchdowns. Praise isn't going to do it for you. Coach Weebank, always the perfectionist and always anxious to guard against anything that might break down the espirited, corpse of the team, said, I don't know. While the records haven't proven it, he's still a newcomer compared to some other players. Time will have to prove it. Pass protection was good. Weebank appeared satisfied yesterday. In fact, he said, anytime we win, I'm satisfied. Unitas called one of his best games. We only sent in 4 plays. Our pass protection broke down a little in the first quarter, but overall the pass protection was good. One of the defenses they used messed us up for a while on pass patterns. Webank said the Colts used a quicker count in the second half to stop the Green Bay defense from jumping around and slow up the blitzing tactics. Incidentally, the best play of the game didn't count. Carl Tassif went 82 yards in the fourth quarter for a touchdown, but it was called back because Bill Pricer was detected clipping. Pricer said he was going fast and just couldn't keep him from running into the Green Bay tackler. Webank thought Alex Hawkins, subbing for the injured L.G. Dupree, did well in the first start for the Colts. I was well pleased with the way we played. He was nervous and he needs work on a couple of things, but I was satisfied with the way he played today. Unitas broke another club record yesterday. Since the start of the current season, Unitas has broken two marks set by Y.A. Tittle during the 48-50 seasons. His 477 completions previous to yesterday exceeded Tittle's 470, and his 6,996 yards topped Tittle's 6,615. Yesterday, Unitas threw 29 passes to better Tittle's total of 893 passes. Unitas has now thrown 913 passes for the Colts. The largest crowd to watch the Colts and Packers play prior to yesterday, 57,557 sellout, was the 51,333 that saw the Colts beat Green Bay on a rainy afternoon here last year. I guess that was the 56-0 game. I got some more, quite a bit more here. Let's see here. All right, let's go back here. Let's see, we got. All right, 15. Here we go. Page 21, column 3. Okie dokie, here we go. Johnny Unitas and his teammates gave a sellout crowd of 57,557 just a few anxious moments before erasing all doubt with 21 points in the third quarter, which allowed the Colts to coast to a 38-21 victory over the Green Bay Packers yesterday. By winning, the Colts knocked the Packers out of what would have been a three-way tie for the Western Division lead of the National Football League and kept the Baltimore team abreast of the San Francisco 49ers, who defeated the Chicago Bears. The two leaders now have records of 4-1, and the Packers are in second place. They fell to 3-2. As usual, the Colts started slowly yesterday, allowing the Packers to take an early lead before catching fire for two quick second quarter touchdowns and a 14-7 advantage at halftime, which was as it should have been considering the Colts had the ball 41 times to the Packers' 18. That lead was wiped out in just one play by the Packers in the third quarter as Lamar McCann passed to Max McGee on an 81-yard touchdown play. Then Unitas and his mates got hot, with linebacker Bill Pellington supplying the hump-jumping touchdown on an interception, which put the Colts out of the Packers' reach at 28-14. Just 1 minute before Pellington's first league touchdown, Unitas connected on a 3-yard toss to Alan Amici to put the Colts ahead for good. Barry Amici get 4. And just 3 minutes after the Pellington run of 30 yards, Unitas passed to Raymond Berry for 2 yards out to give the Colts a formidable lead of 35-14 as the fourth quarter began. Amici and Berry shared scoring honors with 2 touchdowns each. Each scored a second period touchdown, Berry on an 8-yard Unitas pass and Amici on a 3-yard plunge. The first scoring pass to Berry in the second quarter was the 30th straight game Unitas has thrown at least one touchdown. John, who usually waits until the last quarter to get hot and lead the Colts to victory, was on the mark with his passes all day, completing 19-29 for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. No late rally needed. For the first time this year, the Colts didn't have to stage a fourth quarter rally, and for the first time this year, they failed to score a touchdown in the last quarter. But it wasn't Carl Tassif's fault. All right. Page 21, column 3. That was page 15, so I got to go from page 15 to page 21. All right. Wasn't Carl Tassif's fault that the Colts didn't score. Early in the last period, Carl Tassif fielded a Packer punt on a Colt 18 and started out on one of the special stop and go runs. It was the most exciting run of the day as the bow-legged veteran weaved through the maze of tacklers to go the 82 yards into the end zone. And it was to no avail as Billy Pricer clipped A.D. Williams at the very outset of Tassif's runs, nullifying the touchdown. But Steve Myra, who converted after all 5 touchdowns, kept the Colts from being blanked in the last quarter with a 43-yard field goal. The 2 early Green Bay Packer touchdowns were quick and long, with Luke Carpenter rounding left end for a 55-yard scoring sprint in the first 10 seconds of the second quarter, and McCann hitting McGee for an 81-yard pass and run touchdown in the first 55 seconds of the third quarter. That was the last time during the afternoon the Colts fans had to gasp for breath. From then on until the last minutes of the game, the Colts were in command. With time running out, the Packers marched 80 yards in 6 plays to score a consolation touchdown on a McCann to Boyd Dowler pass for 4 yards. Although the final statistics give the Packers an edge in most departments, it must be remembered that the Colts were coasting after gaining their 35-14 lead and were allowing the visitors to short pass and the run just to keep the clock running. You want to complete something short, we'll come up, we'll tackle you, keep you in bounds, keep the clock running. Right. McCann, who was rushed relentlessly throughout the game by the big Colt line, did a good job of guarding the Packer attack, which gained 344 yards to the Colts' 309. McCann also, but if you take the 81-yard pass out and the 55-yard run out, basically the Packers, the rest of the game, had about 200 yards of offense. McCann also completed 14 of 27 passes for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns, but also 4 interceptions. And if you take the 181-yard pass away, basically he had 150 yards passing for the game. As usual, a hard rushing line will cause interceptions, and the Colts' 5 tons of fun, Don Joyce, the 6-ton, didn't play. Oh, okay. Hurried McCann into throwing 4 interceptions, which could easily make this another victory for the Colt defense. Besides Pellington's interception, Ray Brown, Milt Davis, and Dick Szymanski also stole Packer passes. Quarterbacks fumbles by the opposing quarterbacks when hit, while back to pass kept both teams from moving the ball into scoring range in the early part of the first quarter. McCann fumbled first, with Pellington's smashing tackle causing it and Art Donovan recovering. But before the Colts could make the most of the break, the Packers, led by Bill Forrester, jarred the ball loose from Unitas, with Nate Borden covering for the visitors. Late in the opening period, McCann started the Packers moving with a 24-yard pass to McGee to the Green Bay 45. On the first play of the second quarter, Carpenter raced wide around left end, picked up a couple blockers, and ran to the end zone, where Pellington's diving tackle knocked him over the last marker for the first score of the game. Then the Colts started to move, driving 80 yards in 14 plays following the kickoff. Unitas mixed his attack, but it was great catches by Jim Mutscheller, I believe it is, and Berry, which kept the ball rolling toward the Packer goal. The last play was an 8-yard toss to Berry between the goalposts, as you saw in that one picture. The very next time the Colts got the ball, they stormed 79 yards and 9 plays with passes again, doing the main work to the Packer 3, where Amici banged over to put the Colts ahead. Even in the final minutes of the first half, the Colts had a chance to score after Szymanski's interception. A field goal from the 43 on the last play by Myra missed, however. Steve Myra. On the Packers' third play of the second half, McGee maneuvered between Andy Nelson and Brown to receive a good aerial from McCann. McGee outran Brown to the goal line to climax an 81-yard scoring play. Johnny Sample's 25-yard return of a Packer kick was the spark that started the Colts' winning drive. Unitas took over So I'll be over here, right? The United took over on the Packer 36, and 7 plays later on third down, pass to Amici, who had twice rammed into the center of the Packer line. The pass was just 3 yards, but meant 6 points and a lead the Colts held throughout. Then came Pellington's interception, and Bill just set his sights on the spot where the goal line and the out-of-bounds lines met. He made the 30-yard run without being touched. Moments later, Brown pilfered another McCann pass, returning it 44 yards to the Packer 18. 6 plays put it over, with the payoff pitch being from United to Berry from 2 yards out on fourth down. Midway of the last period, a McCann fumble caused when he was hit by Gino Marchetti was recovered by Big Daddy Lipscomb on the Green Bay 41. On fourth down, Myrick kicked a 43-yard field goal to end Baltimore's scoring. Then in the last minutes, McCann marched the Packers to the final points of the game. Dowler started in with a 38-yard reception of a McCann pass and finished it with a 4-yard catch for a touchdown. In the last period, the Colts used their entire bench with all suited-up players playing. Alex Hawkins, who was shoved into a bad spot when L.G. Dupree was injured, performed more than adequately as a replacement. He carried the ball 10 times for 41 yards. Lenny Moore led the Colt ground gainers with 42 yards on 8 carries. And then Alan Amici, I think, had 35 yards. So they had one guy with 41 yards, Lenny Moore with 42, and Alan Amici with 35. And I think United had like one run. Well, we'll have one run for a couple yards. No serious injury. Fortunately, the Colts escaped serious injury, although 4 were x-rayed after the game. Ordell Brazy hurt his foot, Don Shinnick his hand, Carl Tassif an elbow, and Bill Pricer a wrist. Hawkins suffered a sprained knee, but will be subject to further tests. Raymond Berry couldn't understand why Bobby Dillon got hurt instead of him on a play in the second quarter. Berry caught a pass for 12 yards to the Packer 26 and was nailed from behind by Dillon. Raymond got up, but Dillon didn't, and Dillon had to be helped from the field. He didn't see action for the rest of the game. Boy, I hurt all over from that, Berry said. I can't understand how Dillon hurt himself. Paul Hornung, the former Notre Dame great, had a bad day. He gained 22 yards and 8 carries. He completed 1 pass, but that pass was a wild, wobbly heave that just accidentally came down into the right spot. It could have easily been intercepted. I think that might be it. Yeah, that could be it. Let's see where we at here. Yeah, well, I'm telling you, as I said, if I read another article, I could be here for like another 20 minutes. It could be like an hour and a half long or so, but you get the gist. I mean, it was, the Packers outgained them, but I mean, they had like 130, almost 140 yards between 2 plays. So, but the Colts, between all those interceptions that they had, the 4, one was run back for a touchdown. The other one was run back like to the 18-yard line. A few plays later, they plunged it in once again. I mean, the 4 interceptions were killer. Johnny Unitas didn't throw any interceptions. Lamar McCann threw 4, and as only Johnny Unitas could do. He's just methodically just picking you apart, going down the field. That's something Lamar McCann can't do. Plus also, Unitas had Lenny Moore, Alan Amici, Raymond Berry. He's got these phenomenal players, and at this particular point in time, Jim Taylor wasn't in there for the Packers. Paul Hornung was banged up. Bart Starr wasn't in there. So it's a little bit of a different team. But the 1959 season was truly, obviously another season for the Baltimore Colts, as they would, reign supreme over the Packers. But the Packers would start turning the tide. Started in 1960. In 1960, the Packers would win the division, and the Colts somehow would go from winning the 58 championship, the 59 championship. I think in 1960 they were 6-6. Go figure. But so that's what it was. The Colts were certainly the better team this day, and they would certainly win handily over the Green Bay Packers. This would be the second loss in a row for the Packers, but this would be the first game that the Packers played on the road, as they usually would play a lot of their games at home early on, and then they finish up the season, late season, away from Green Bay because it started getting cold. So that's the way it was on this date, October 25th, 1959, between the Green Bay Packers and the Baltimore Colts at Memorial Stadium in pro football's first 50 years. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.